Good morning, everybody. It's Claire Jones here from Your One Life Healthy Weight Solutions, and I'm here with you on Monday, the 19th. Is it 19th? 18th? Sorry, 18th of July, and I'm here to talk to you about episode 15 of Monday Morning Matters. And today's topic is all about how many calories do you need to eat to lose weight, which is a bit of a $1,000,000 question. So obviously I'm not going to be able to cover, such a huge topic in 10 minutes, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to it for those of you who may be grappling with this conundrum, because it's not as easy as it may sound. So before I get started, just like to say, if you are watching live, do say hello. If you are watching on replay later on, then do put #replay in the comments. And what that does, it just helps Facebook to know that firstly you want to watch these sorts of things, and secondly it helps to alert other people that Stella, it helps if you turn the sound on. Yes, good idea. I hope that I'm coming through okay anyway, because sometimes there can be technical problems, but yes, that is a good idea. So so if you do obviously let me know that you're here, either on live or on replay, because as I say, it helps Facebook to know that you like to see this stuff, so it will show you more of it in the future. And also it helps other people to know that I've gone live, and in case they were planning to watch and have maybe forgotten to tune in or got busy with something. So it does help, and it's kind of nice to know that I'm not talking to myself, although I'm getting better at doing that. So without further ado, because obviously 10 minutes is going to go very quickly, so how many calories do you need to eat to lose weight? Well, the accepted general principle, okay, bearing in mind we're all individuals with our own bodies and our own different metabolisms and all of that sort of thing, but the generally accepted principle is that if you want to lose a pound, you need to create a calorie deficit of 3,500 calories, which over the course of the week, if you wanted to lose a pound in a week, that would be 500 calories. So that's the easy bit, okay. The more difficult bit is working out, well, what does that mean for you? Because it's not just a case of eating 500 calories less than you normally do, because it all depends on what are you currently doing. So if what you're currently doing, your weight is stable, then you could say, well, eating 500 calories less is likely to result in a pound a week. I'm going to come on to a little bit more about that in a minute. But the problem is, if you're currently putting on weight, then you're going to need to work out what's your maintenance level first, before you can then work out what you need to then eat to lose weight. So what I say to people is, rather than to sort of go rushing into a diet, let's just spend a little bit of time working out what you're currently doing. So because this is, the whole principle of my program is all about preparing you properly for successful weight loss, rather than just sort of making a decision to lose weight and then just going off and sort of plucking something off the shelf or doing something you've seen somebody else doing. It's so important to figure out what's right for you, and that's one of the things I help with. So what I get people to do when they first start working with me is we just start to gather information. So that's like working out, what are you currently doing? How do you currently eat? And then just sort of recording that, so that you can really get a good idea of what's currently going on and how your current behaviour is impacting on your weight. Because the problem with doing that sometimes is when we start shining the spotlight, we tend to pay more attention to what we're doing, so we may change our behaviour slightly in the process. But that's okay, because the whole point is about raising awareness of what you're doing, because as I've said many times previously, we're not hardwired to pay attention to what we're eating. So it is a concerted effort to actually do it. So the first step, as I say, is to just understand what you're currently doing and how that's impacting on your weight, and being able to work out what your current maintenance level is. So if you can see that by what you're doing, your weight is actually going up, then you know that you need to cut back, because clearly you're eating more than your body needs. And obviously, you know, the only way we can really work out what's going on is by actually knowing the numbers. So counting calories, whilst it's not necessarily necessary for everybody to do on an ongoing basis, I do highly recommend that people do it as a means of finding out what's currently going on so that we can work out what needs to change. So if you know that you're eating more than you need, then it would be a case of actually using the principles of calorie counting to bring that down to perhaps, you know, what is suggested for maintenance. So for a woman, that is sort of between 1,800 and 2,000 calories, and for a man, that's between 2,000 and 2,500. And then just see how your body responds. And if you can see that your body responds really well, then you know that actually the calories you need for maintenance are in that range. And then, you know, when I say it responds well, so if it's, you know, you maintain your weight, obviously if you find you lose it, then that means actually you can eat quite a lot and still be able to lose weight if you are reducing what you were previously eating, if you were putting on weight. If your weight, however, is currently stable, then all you would need to then do is to then drop it by 500 calories a day and see what happens. And if, as I say, your body responds well, then you know that you're on the right lines. If your body doesn't respond to that very well, then there could be two things going. One could be that you're not being accurate with what you're counting, or it could be that your body needs less calories. And it's only by sort of testing this out that we really know. There are a lot of calorie sort of estimators out there. So these total daily energy expenditure calculators, where you put your height and weight in and it crunches the numbers and it gives you a guide. But it is only a guide. It's the best way is really just to use your body as a bit of an experiment and just observe without judgment, see what's going on, and then that will give you a really clear idea of what needs to change. So I'm just going to run through a number of points here that I just want to kind of make you aware of, which hopefully will help. So I've already covered the first one, which is obviously taking some time to understand what you're currently doing and how your weight is responding to that, and then using that information to start making some changes and then see how your body responds to that. But of course, what we have to remember is that there are so many variables at play. And one thing it's so important to remember is that bigger bodies need more calories, smaller bodies need less calories. So as you lose weight, your deficit will change. So what you need now to create a deficit may not be the same as what it might be in a few weeks' time. And this is why people often run into plateaus, is because the body resets everything, and especially if we're continually losing weight, it's only a certain amount of time before the body starts to go, hang on a minute, is there a famine going on? And it starts to encourage us to conserve energy, which means that perhaps we're less active than we would normally be. So we're not using the same amount of energy as we perhaps might, which then squeezes that deficit. Equally, it slows down other functions that currently may previously have been working harder, so it might start slowing them down. Things like immune function, for example. So you know, it's not unheard of for people to, hi Donna, it's not unheard of for people to you know, start getting coughs and colds and things like that, because if our bodies are conserving energy and we're reducing the amount of calories going in, then, you know, and also if we're you know, doing lots of exercise, the body's got to kind of conserve things somehow, so it starts cutting down functions that perhaps we might not want it to. So this is another reason why it's important not to go too low. So another thing that is really important to bear in mind is that obviously the bigger the deficit, so suppose you say, well, actually I want to lose £2 a week, I don't want to lose £1 a week, but of course that means you're going to have to cut your deficit to 1,000 calories a day. Now that's in my opinion not an easy thing to do, because one of the reasons why we struggle with losing weight is because we have to change our behaviour, and we don't necessarily want to change our behaviour. We might want to lose the weight, but we may not necessarily want to do what it takes. So it's really a question of making sure, is your goal in line with what you're prepared to do to reach it? So if you want to lose £2 a week, are you prepared to do what it takes? And actually, in reality, can you do what it takes with everything else that may be going on in your life at the moment, or that's coming up? So it's really important to be really honest with yourself and not get into this trap of idealistic thinking and say, yeah, this time I'm going to be really strict and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then the reality is that you're not able to stick to it because life gets in the way, and actually you don't want to eat the way that you need to eat in order to lose £2 a week. And actually £1 a week, or even £0.5 a week, may be more realistic for you, and actually may get you better results in the long run, because you're going to behave more like the tortoise than the hare. And I'm sure we all know the story about the tortoise and the hare and what happened there. And obviously the tortoise won in the end because the tortoise was consistent. The tortoise was taking its time and had the end goal in mind, and didn't rush it, didn't get distracted, just focused, and was just being consistent but nice and slow and gentle. And that's, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get the results. Having said that, though, sometimes it can be good to do a little bit of a turbo boost. So maybe you know that you've got a couple of weeks coming up where you can cut back a bit more. But if you do, then in my opinion, it's much better to just think of, if you're wanting to maybe have a couple of weeks where you do reduce your intake quite considerably, what you definitely don't want to be doing is upping your exercise, because all that's going to do is make you hungry, and your body and brain will fight back, and then you'll end up, worst case scenario, you may end up on a binge, which is definitely not going to get you where you want to be. So it's being able to see that bigger picture. So the other thing that's really important, I know there's lots of things that are really important here, is that it's okay to take breaks, because maybe you're working really hard, you're really focused, and actually that can be quite exhausting, because we're having to do things differently to how we would perhaps like to, and as I say, our bodies do start to fight back. So we can prevent that from happening by actually having periods of time where we focus really heavily on losing weight, and then we focus really consistently on maintaining weight, and that's when we can then bring the exercise back in and really work hard on that to maintain what we've lost so far till we're ready to go again. And that actually is how I lost my weight, and how I've been able to keep it off all this time, is I took that approach, and it worked very well for me. Now, also really, really important to remember that quality of calories is just as important as the quantity. So really what we want to be making sure is that, whatever we reduce our calories to, that we are getting as much nutrition in those calories as we possibly can. Because again, if we're not feeding our body the right kind of fuel, then it is going to be taking the nutrients that it's not getting from our food from elsewhere in our body that perhaps we don't want it to take it from. So like our muscles, our bones and our organs, we definitely don't want our body to be stealing from itself. So that's why it's so important to get the right nutrition. Plus also it's so helpful for all of our bodily functions if we're fueling it right. So just think of that high performance car that I've spoken about previously. We don't want to be filling a high performance car with a load of rubbish. We need high performance car to be running on really good quality fuel. So think of it in that way. So the 80-20 principle, as I've spoken about previously, is a good place to start. So if 80% of your calories are coming from really good, minimally processed, sorry, I always get notifications on Monday mornings. Minimally processed foods, and that have, you're getting a good range of all the different nutrients, you're getting lots of fibre, you're getting plenty of protein, which is so important. Obviously hydrating well, sleeping well, all of those sorts of things that make a difference as well. And then that leaves 20% of your calories for whatever you fancy. And then you're not in a position where you're denying yourself all these things and then you're wanting them more than ever. You're just saying, right, okay, so yeah, I want that piece of cake, so maybe I'll just have to think of how small or big a piece of cake I can have within that 20%, for example, or maybe you've already had your 20% for today, so you think, well, okay, so I'll save that for another day. Remember, you know, food is available whenever you want it. Okay, so just because you can't have it now doesn't mean you can't have it tomorrow. That's such an important thing to remember. You know, we can get into this kind of very primitive mode of thinking that, you know, if we don't have that food right now, our whole life is going to be over, you know, and we're never going to be able to eat it again. Now, you know, just remember the food manufacturers are very good at influencing our behaviour, and, you know, the fancy packaging that we get at Christmas and Easter, you know, the food is the same, it just looks different. You know, it really doesn't matter what it's packaged in, you know, whether it's a Easter egg or whether it's a bar of chocolate, it's the same stuff. So just bear that in mind and don't let the food manufacturers influence you. And then the other thing I just wanted to say, I did say, you know, if you know, if calorie counting isn't your thing, then, you know, that's absolutely fine, because obviously there are a lot of diets out there that really take the pressure off in terms of working out what it is to eat to make sure you are getting a good balanced diet while you lose weight. However, what I would say is it's hugely educational to calorie count alongside any program you might be following to begin with, simply so that you can see what you're doing and how many calories your body actually needs to lose weight. Because whether the program you're following is counting calories or not, it's still putting you in a calorie deficit. Otherwise you wouldn't be losing weight. That's the only way to lose weight, is to be in a calorie deficit. What that means is different for everybody in terms of what your body actually needs to maintain. Yeah, no worries, Donna. You know, what your body needs to maintain versus what it needs to lose. It's really important to know what that is for you. Morning, Kelly. And by counting calories, even if only for a short while, it gives you that information. And not only that, it means that if at any point you're in a position where you're not able to follow that program, you've still got that knowledge and understanding about what you're doing. So just in the same way as you wouldn't sort of pass over someone else to manage all your money for you, you'd still need to know how much things cost and how much you've got on your bank balance, how much you're spending. It's the same principle here. So arm yourself with the knowledge as well, so that you're really clear about what you're doing and why that program is working for you, because that will give you knowledge that you otherwise may not have, and means that you're going to be able to be more self-sufficient in the future. Right, I've gone way over time. I usually do, because I could talk about this stuff for hours. But I hope that's helpful. That is really just a whistle-stop tour. Obviously, you know, in my program, I help people to work this out in much more detail. So if you are interested in taking that further and you want to find out more about my program, then do obviously drop me a message. I'll post the link in the comments here. But this is really quite fundamentally important. You know, if we want to lose weight, we've got to understand what's going on and why, you know, how much our bodies need and what our different options are, and what kind of calorie deficit we need to create and how we can keep an eye on that calorie deficit. Because, as I say, smaller bodies need less energy. So that means the calorie deficit that may be working through the beginning of your weight loss program may not be the same a few weeks down the line. So we need to be able to continually adjust it according to what your body needs. And as I say, remembering to take those breaks is really good, because it reminds your body not to keep conserving stuff, because you don't want it to. You want it to use the energy so that you can lose the weight. So I hope that's helpful. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, and obviously, yeah, I'll see you next week for episode 16. Don't know what that's going to be on yet, but I'll keep posted. Take care, have a lovely week, and be careful in this weather. I know obviously it's lovely, sunny weather, but we also just need to be mindful. Sunscreen and staying hydrated, and yeah, not getting out in the sun too much if it's a bit over the top for you. I know I'm going to be staying in the shade today, but enjoy. Take care. See you soon. Bye.